Hi guys, so this is going to be a trade review of all of my trades from today. I opened 4 new trades today, and if you've been following me on Twitter, then you know that I just posted that I definitely overtraded today. And so this is going to be a bit of a self-scathing review. I'm going to go through each of the 4 new trades that I put on today, how I managed them, what I did well, what I did wrong, and the 2 trades from yesterday that I carried over, which were unsafe, and how I dealt with them. And as usual, I'm going to review these trades based on my essay, the position size, the stock selection criteria, the entry, the stop loss, and the exit. I also want to just quickly note why I'm doing this video today. It's because on days like this, when the market just goes down, and let me show you what happened in the Qs today. It was quite an eventful day. After a very, very long rally, for the first time, we got a down day that was almost 2% and on pretty big volume. And a lot of growth stocks actually fell really hard. It can be a bit difficult to manage your emotions. And I know that I definitely struggle with it. Overtrading is one of my Achilles heels, and I succumbed to it today. The worst part, though, is that whenever on days like this I make mistakes, I tend to feel like I'm the only one because no one else ever talks about any loss. So, as Brick Descartes just commented on one of my tweets, where I was sharing exactly what happened today and all the losses that I took in today, 95% of win rate has a win rate of 100%. This is so true. Because even on a day like today, when I'm sure every single trader took multiple losses, not a single person that even I follow, which is just 30 or 40 people, tweeted about a single loss that they took. And it just seems like I'm the only one. So, in case you also made mistakes today or took a few losses, I just want to share what I did and share what I learned so you can feel a little less isolated and probably also learn from your own mistakes and mine. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the plan and the situational awareness that I posted for today last night. So this is what I posted. Yesterday, I said we had very bullish action across the board. Qs and SPY were correcting through time, not price. And let me show you what I meant by that, because I think that's where my folly started in the essay itself. So this is a chart of the Qs, and obviously even a child can tell you it's overbought. The RSI was close to 80 on this day. But what surprised me was that for these 3 days, the Qs just went sideways rather than having any kind of pullback even to the 10 MA. In fact, if you remember, I also had a short position in the Qs, which I ended up closing because they just did not correct. And so yesterday, what I noted was that this is most likely a time correction, which means a sideways consolidation and not going to be a pullback. Now, the SPY is doing the same thing and actually continue to do the same thing today. It's behaving much more constructively than the Qs. But this is probably because of the small caps into which the money has rotated. So while the small caps broke out and had a very strong day, the Qs were actually the ones selling off. And because I incorrectly assumed that this is just going to be a sideways consolidation, I was not taking into account this scenario, which is definitely a huge mistake on my part with regards to the essay. So I should have also accounted for the fact that maybe it goes sideways for some time and then has a nasty pullback. Markets can always surprise you, and it's amazing how even after 10 years, there are scenarios that surprise me that I didn't think of. So that was one thing. Two, I said that I'm starting to get more aggressive and that I'm going to be raising my position size to 0.5% risk of total equity on new positions tomorrow onwards. And I will hold those as position trades. Now, notice how different this is from my essay and my plan just 2 days ago, where I noted that Qs put in a bearish candle and both are likely to pull back or consolidate here, and that I will keep trading 0.25% risk of total equity positions and be defensive until the indices relieve their overboughtness. So 2 days ago, I think my essay was more on point than it was last night. Last night itself, I felt, now in hindsight, I can see that I had a bit of FOMO creeping in and had planned to get more aggressive. Now, the silver lining is that even though I had planned to risk 0.5% of my total equity, I only risked 0.25% on each of the new trades that I put on. So thank God for that, or my losses would have been double of what they were. But in terms of SA, I would definitely say this was bad. And in terms of my plans to position size, this was bad as well. The actual position sizes that I took were okay, but I think given 2 stop losses that I took on, the third and fourth trade should have been a much smaller size or pilot size positions. I'll come to that. So the first thing, let me just show you how we opened up actually and take you through the day as it happened. So right in the morning, most of the stocks were gapping up. Look at the IWM. It opened here. Open was the low of the day. It gapped up about 0.4%. Most of the stocks on my watch list, I think 8 out of 10 were gapping up and opening in green. All the indices were slightly gapping up as well. SPY had gapped up a little bit as well. So there was a bit of FOMO, you could say, right at the market open. But when I saw the IWM gapping up, the first thing I did in the morning was move my TNA position, which is a leverage position in IWM, to break even. And this meant that I now had just 2 unsafe positions, EVLV and APLD, and all of these positions and the TNA were unsafe, were safe. And both of these positions were 0.25% positions. So my total open risk then was just 0.5% of my total equity early in the morning. Now, if I look back through the day, in the pre-market itself, when I saw a lot of gap ups, I was having a bit of FOMO. And I was pretty excited thinking, okay, what all can I enter today? I had also made a short list from my watch list of what stocks were getting some volume in the pre-market and planning the position sizes, the entry points, the stop losses, preparing the orders and putting them in my account in the pre-market itself. So I would say mindset-wise, that was probably a negative. The first stock that I took in the morning was actually CXAI. That one I took on the 5-minute opening range high. It was from my watch list. That is fine. The risk at this point was probably too aggressive since I already had 2 open positions of 0.25%. It should have been a 0.12% position. Or honestly, if I was following my own risk management positions, then I shouldn't have put on a third position at all. So I would say the entry is not good. My stop, however, was the low of day, and the chart looked fine, at least at that point. In terms of exit, the only thing that I did well was sold off at less than full 1 hour. So rather than taking a full loss on the position, I started to trim it as soon as it pulled back after breaking out, and net just took a 0.8 loss. And I can show you exactly where I sold them as well. So you can see that on the 5-minute chart. This is the 5-minute chart. Took it on the 5-minute opening range high. It goes up. It slams right back in. At this point, when it breaks the VWAP, I sell half. And at this point, when it breaks the swing low of the day, I sell the other half. So the sell and the stop loss are actually the only two things that I did right in this trade. Now, the next trade that I took was Nvidia. I made a lot of mistakes in Nvidia. Let me show you. And there's actually a lot that you can learn from this too, because I think this is a common mistake that a lot of us make without even realizing it. So I say long Nvidia from the earnings winners list. Now, why do I not say watch list? Because it's not from my watch list and I was not prepared to take this. Honestly, earnings winners list is also a lie because this was not on my earnings winners list until this morning. So how did this even get on my radar? So this was actually an audible trade, and a trader whom I follow, Oliver Kell, and it's of course not his mistake. I'm just telling you where this popped up on my radar from. He noted that it was a great setup that he was looking at tomorrow. And that's all fine because this probably fits his criteria, but this is not a stock that actually fits my criteria. But I got influenced by him and his tweet. And again, 100%, it is not anyone else's fault for what they tweet. It is only my fault that I got influenced by them. Everyone has a different trading style, different trading criteria, and it's up to me to cut out the noise and stay in my own lane, which I didn't. And I actually got long Nvidia in the first minute itself. So I took it here. I put my stop loss as the swing low, which was yesterday's low. And again, I would say the stock selection was terrible. The entry was terrible. This is pure FOMO. The fact that I entered the stock in the first minute itself, let me show you on the 1-minute chart. Here, you can see it. The fact that I'm entering on the first 1-minute opening range, that itself can tell you how much FOMO I was having in the morning and how desperate I was to put on risk and put on trades. And basically within the first 5 minutes, I had doubled my total open risk from 0.5% of my total equity to 1% of my total equity. I broke my position sizing rules. I had extreme FOMO and entered very aggressively. It was a blunder all across. The only saving grace again was that I stopped out of this before it took a full loss on it, and I got out for a net of 0.7%. I can show you that as well. So I cut half because the market was not following through, and this was when it took out the swing low. And I sold the rest of it when it took out the low of day. And I said that this was a bad buy because that's right then and there I realized the stock didn't even meet my criteria and I should not have bought it. Okay, then my blunders don't stop there. I had EVLV from the night before. Let me show you this. I'm not sure why this isn't working. Give me a second. Okay, it's working now. So EVLV, I had bought this yesterday and I think the buy was great. The size was great. The SA at that point was great. All of that was amazing. It actually gapped up a little bit and was going up, unlike most of the other stocks in the market. And when I saw the market reversing and most of the stocks failing, I moved my stop loss to break even because I didn't want to take a full loss in this. And this was also when I realized that my total open risk had gotten too big and I was going beyond my own risk parameters. So in order to reduce my total open risk from 1% to 75 basis points, I moved the stop loss on this to break even. So I would say that was excellent stop loss management on my part. And eventually what it did was just come hit my stop loss at break even and stop me out and break even. So this was actually fine in view of everything that happened in the day. And this was really, really good risk management on my part. Now, what else did I do? I wish that it had ended there. So after this, I took 2 more trades, LRCX and URBN. Now, LRCX is a position that I already have open. I've traded it twice already, and I have some leftovers from those. I wanted to add more to this. Now, entry-wise, this was on my radar, meets my criteria. It was on my watch list, and I did take it when it made a new high of day. Here, stop loss wise, I put half my stop loss at the low of day, which I think in retrospect was extremely aggressive, especially given the volatility on the day. And that stop loss got taken out pretty quickly through the midday. Now, while the entry was fine and the stock was fine, this size should have been 12 basis points, given the 2 stop losses that I had already taken in the day on Nvidia and CXAI. And if anything, I should not have taken this trade at all because the SA was not right. So bad SA, bad size, bad stop loss, overall a bad trade. Still carrying half of this with the stop loss at yesterday's low, but definitely should not have taken this in hindsight. Now the last trade that I took was Urban. Let me show you my reason for taking Urban and what I posted. So I saw XRT going up today, and Urban was making a new high from this EP day. The R wall was very strong, and the low of day was giving me a really good risk reward. The intraday volume on the 5-minute chart was also very, very constructive. So I tried to take this as a position trade. I would say, given the SA, this should not have been taken. Given what had happened earlier in the day, the size should have been a pilot size position or 0, ideally. Stock itself was fine. It meets my criteria of an earnings winner. The entry itself was fine, and on a good day, this would have been a very good entry with a very good stop loss. On a day like today, this was a terrible stop loss because the stop loss was so small that because the stock didn't make any move and didn't give me any cushion, I couldn't even take the full position overnight. I had to cut half of it at the end of the day just to prevent myself from taking a much bigger loss overall than accounted for in case we gap down. So basically I sold half at minus 0.2 R, so that even if we have a gap down tomorrow and it gaps below this total stop loss that I have put, net, I would not take more than a 1 hour loss on this trade. So terrible stop loss management as well. So overall, I would say this is not a day I'm proud of my trading. I succumbed to a very old problem that I have, which is FOMO and getting too excited with the gains that I make, over trading, over positioning, going overboard on risk, and giving back gains. If you've seen my earlier videos, you've seen me do this before as well, and this is exactly why, even though my account let me show you what this does to my account. While this was my account in the past few weeks, and I had multiple 5-figure days, I gave back a good chunk today. And this is usually what my biggest problem has been that has kept me away from super performance. Had I not overtraded on a day like this, my give back would have been something like this, or even something like this. And in the next line, I would have continued much higher. Because of my overtrading, I give back a lot. And then even though I make more on the next run, overall, I end up lower. So what can I do to reduce this overtrading? This is something that I'm going to think about in the next few days and probably all night tonight. But if you have suggestions, I would definitely appreciate you leaving a comment below. This is something I'm definitely getting better at every day, but I've still not completely mastered yet. I hope some of these mistakes also help you. And thank you for watching this.